Welcome to the Alchemy of Sex Summit. Today we are interviewing a really incredible mystical goddess who I'm so excited to bring to you, Anaiya Sophia. She is an independent mystic of an almost forgotten faith, author of 7 books, and a teacher of Kundalini Yoga. She carries an oral transmission from the sacred feminine mysteries, which she weaves into all of her work. Her books include Open Your Heart with Kundalini Yoga, Pilgrimage of Love, Womb Wisdom, Sacred Sexual Union, The Rose Night, which I'm really excited to read, and Fierce, Fierce Feminine. Anaya lives in the Occitan region of southern France with her beloved husband, Pete Wilson, and together in union with the land, they take people on their own grail quest into an immersive interaction where an initiation by the feminine principle is almost always guaranteed. They run a B&B where individuals and small groups can come and stay. And Anaya also conducts baptisms, marriages, divorces, and death rite ceremonies. She is a priestess of the highest, and I'm so excited to have you, Anaya. Thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, Willow, it is my privilege to be here with you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Anaya, do you want to just go ahead and dive into our topic today?
Well, I thought perhaps you could lead me.
Okay, that sounds good.
A bit of prompting.
Yeah, that sounds good. So today we're talking about wisdom from the womb cave, which I love that. Like our wombs are such this deep cauldron of wisdom. And I'm actually on my cycle right now. And last night, just like, ooh, it was like I was on something, like just messages were coming through, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so, and part of what you're gonna probably bring to us today is, how we can use the wisdom of our womb to guide our path and our journey through this really wild and crazy world where we're living in so much distraction and, so much things that could take us out of our center.
Yes. Well, I think the first thing I'd like to raise is something that actually only came my way a few years ago. And that is the absolute importance that when a woman is on her moon time, it's really important that she is able to sleep alone during this cycle so that she can receive her monthly updates and wisdom and downloads and recapitulations. And that is when the veil is really thin between her essence and all of the other worlds that she's operating in. When I read that a few years ago, I kind of went, that kind of makes fabulous sense. But I've always mostly been in relationship. And I've always mostly been sleeping beside a beloved every night in some form or another. And so, I paid attention to what I read, and lo and behold, I realized, oh my God, it is essential that a woman is in her own auric space during this time.
So what for you changed? Like what did you just start getting messages more clearly, or?
Absolutely. The dreams were so lucid, and I realized in a sort of knowing and unknowing way that my feminine energy was always naturally holding or interacting with the partner in some way. That this wasn't something I could switch off. It was like an autopilot. If there's someone beside me, I'm going to be interacting with you. Even if I say, I am sovereign, I am free, it doesn't matter. If there's a live organic being beside me, we're going to start energetically mating.
Yeah.
And only when I was in my own space could the And it is very hot. The woman's bodily temperature does go up a few degrees, especially at night when she's bleeding. And it's like that heat, that fire opened up the psychic doorways. And now I'm free to realize that, rather than engaging with the other one in some way that I don't really understand, but can recognize that it's happening.
Yeah.
And I would say a woman is really in a very strong place now to direct that thinning of the veils to her own personal journey, her own spiritual personal journey, and perhaps any kind of healing that needs to take place.
Yeah, so as the cycle is approaching, as the blood is about to flow, that would be a good time for a woman to, maybe even have an intention, like to get an answer for something in her life. Maybe it's with her, to do with her relationship, or maybe it has to do with, her career path, or, having children, whatever it is, just time to get more clarity.
Yeah, and it's quite a radical thing to bring into, more of an old paradigm relationship. Not that there's anything wrong with those. I've got one foot in the old paradigm, one foot in the new. I'm absolutely straddling this transition period.
Mm-hmm.
And to say to your partner, who you've always slept with, sweetie, I'm going to take 5 to 7 nights now to sleep alone in a single bed in another room because I'm wanting this time for myself. To the young people, this is like, yeah, that's normal. But to us, this is radical. This really shows that you're really taking seriously the journey now. I think it's wonderful, but it is also a little bit confronting because you're really bringing in change now.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with like not wanting to be with them, or it's just that you want that space for you and the divine, for you and the creator to be together and
absolutely
to be together.
And when you come back to your partner, there's more of you available to share.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And so, Anaya, I know you're in France. You're near the caves. Speaking of caves and wisdom, near the caves where Mary Magdalene spent her last days. And I know you do a lot of work with the Magdalene lines and the Yeshua lines. And just wondering if you could speak to maybe the earth cave, like the greater cave, the collective womb, so to speak, and how, like, what messages are you getting or are coming through your women that you guide at this point in time for the women of the world?
Well, for me at the moment, my personal and contributing journey is very much associated with the absolute fearless clarity of the voice. It's as if I've spent my last 10 to 12 years really working on sexuality. And that, to me, in my being, feels pretty good now. And, everything's in its right place. And I'm operating sexually in a way that is truly reflective of my soul. So that part feels good. It's not done, but it's definitely sustaining itself. And what I'm naturally finding myself drawn into now is the voice, and making sure that my feminine expression and use of vocabulary and power and tone is absolutely reflective of my essence and soul, and clearing any sort of restriction, any sort of holding back, any old paradigm conditioning. And I'm writing about that. I'm living as best as I can alongside that. And of course, coming from my yogic background and also a fair bit of study of biology, the throat and the yoni are absolutely interlinked. They are woven together. They depend on one another's well-being and communion in order to be as operative as perhaps the divine intended. So this, the mouth, the teeth, the tongue, this is another huge erogenous sexual creative zone. And I'm treating this part of me as beautifully as I treated down below.
Yay, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and I'm so enjoying this radical journey of being free to speak.
That's so powerful.
It's scary. It's scary to take the leap of faith, but when you realize that you can and you have, it is such a celebration, and you can feel it going all the way back. The ancestors, like, yay!
Yeah. Exactly. Like we have so much freedom. It's so much safer now for women to voice, what's in their heart. And in Chinese medicine, the tongue roots into the heart, so it flowers from the heart. So that heart chakra to the throat chakra, that expression of your most deep, authentic truth, when that comes forth, as you're saying, it just feels so good. And it's scary. It's scary at first,
Yes, especially when you have to, you're being invited to face your challenges. I wrote a post last week on Facebook saying the men can't do this for us. So it's like, the more brave we become, the mightier the challenge. Yeah. But the challenge isn't really there to knock us back. The challenge is, in fact, to strengthen who we're becoming. And the old paradigm part of us may have turned to our big brothers or beloveds or even fathers in some way and say, sweetie, could you sort this out for me? Because I'm having a real problem with this person. Yeah. But the men, they seem to be lovingly and a little bit confused, but lovingly looking on, knowing their soul must be telling them, do not interfere. This beautiful woman must tap into her resources and realize that she alone can do this. And so they're looking on but there's a deeper wisdom there, that they are being held back on purpose so that we don't depend on them, but dig deep for ourselves. And it's like us, every time a man would ask us, oh, sweetie, could you have a word with my mum, my sister, my female best friend? Could you emotionally smooth out this issue I have with her? We can't.
Yeah.
We have to lovingly encourage them to have that uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah, because it's yours to speak. No one can speak your heart for you, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
We have to really learn one another's natural attributes. Yeah. The ladies have to learn the male's attributes, and I believe the men have to learn the female attributes.
Yes. And so on that, I was listening to something you were speaking on probably several years ago. Recently, I was listening though, and you spoke to how it's very important for women to get in touch with their vulnerable side, their yin side, their feminine side, and those wounds that have been passed on from generation to generation and are still playing out in the current lifetime. And how important it is for us as women, if we don't be vulnerable, then the men can't take on the masculine role and help us hold those wounds and see them and help us heal them. If we just say, oh, I'm going to do it all myself, I'm going to be the man and the woman at the same time, it's like we all have yin and yang within us, of course, but what you're saying, the attributes of the men, of the masculine, we need to also let them be that.
Absolutely. I really see the whole thing as a step and stage process. Forever changing, forever morphing into something else, as the years pass. It's a living path. We're on this path, and it's morphing endlessly with our collective participation.
Absolutely.
And nothing's fixed, nothing sticks.
Yeah.
It engulfs us and takes us on a unique ride with a cocktail of masculine and feminine energy, dancing appropriately with one another in all kinds of circumstances, physical and internal.
Yes, that dance that you're speaking of between the masculine and feminine, I think when it's really, when you have a good foundation of it inside of yourself, that's when another person could come in, and if they have that same good foundation within themselves, then your dance together will maybe not be seamless, but a lot more fluid.
Yes,
there's always going to be bumps in the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have any words of wisdom for women who have been in sort of long-term relationships, with the same man for 40 years, 20 years, and they want to kind of reinvent themselves at this point in time in their life. However, they are that person knows them in one way so well that it's hard for them to kind of reinvent themselves while in that, relationship.
Yes, I think the first thing to raise would be the realization that relationship really is the crucible of potential. It's not just about getting married and having kids and buying a home together. That's just like baseline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Within their companionship is flipping ticket home. This is the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Together, they can open and expand one another's joy and harmony and peace and prowess and sexuality, and just everything you care to imagine can be expanded by the crucible of relationship if you let the guards down and keep on traveling deeper and deeper into one another. Mm-hmm. And if you envision your partner and praying or inwardly intending, let's just say intending, for them to raise up. So instead of looking at them as a component, someone to bitch and argue with, which is going to send your vibration down, and you're not going to do any expanding. The only thing you're going to do is contract. Yeah. Instead, you could see them as this glorious other who's going to play this great game of expansion and beauty and health and abundance with you. And the two of you are this, alchemical team to just open and elevate everything. And this will affect finances. This will affect your own good health. This will affect your sex life, your intimacy, even your children. Even if your children don't appear to be playing the game, they will absolutely receive the ripples of your good work together. So I think that's the first thing that needs to be realized, that there is so much on offer here. Mm-hmm. If you take your glasses off and start to really see the other one.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That does need to be the first thing, is the perspective needs to shift.
Yes.
Yeah. And from that perspective shift, then there's a lot more opportunity for your own truth to come forward, that vulnerability. I think that vulnerability is, is where it all comes from. And we're so afraid to be vulnerable because we're afraid that that person won't want to be with us or won't like us anymore if we show our most vulnerable side. And the reality, if they don't, then that's good news. You should figure that out one way or another.
Absolutely. And really, I do believe relationship needs to sort of slot into the primary position, not as an obsessive or possessive fixation on the other, but instead of it being like, you know, third, fourth, or fifth in the line of priorities, it's up there, you know, first or second position, keeping the crucible, keeping the container fresh and safe and honorable and respectful and joyful. Because if this relationship is those things, it is going to spill out into every area of life. And that, I believe, is a very new paradigm move to take the relationship up in the list of priorities rather than this thing, you know, at the end of the day, gets fed when everyone else has had their piece.
Right. Oh, I'm so happy that you're saying this, because this is one of my main points in all of my teachings too. And I'm so glad that you're bringing it up right now, because I think that, you know, it's like, oh, I'll make sure work is right. I'll make sure my career path is right. I'll make sure, you know, my family life is right. I'll make sure my health is right. And then when all of that is done, then I'll make sure my relationship is right.
Yeah.
But we know that from the studies that you've done with biology and so much working with sexual health and people and just, you know, all the experience that you have, you know, and probably can speak to how when that piece is right, the sexual piece and the heart piece, the connecting piece, when those lock and key are fitting together, like just everything else unfolds.
Absolutely. The relationship is like the capstone. Yeah. This is kind of like the golden epiphany at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
Capstone. The pyramid is empty and the people are not being fed. You know, going back to the days of ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so powerful. Let's maybe switch gears a little bit. I wonder if you could speak a little bit to these incorruptible boundaries against astral and human interference. I'm really curious about that.
This is my new favorite subject.
Yeah.
So, I am an absolute grounded and realistic believer that relationship, as I said, carries these keys of potential to an elevated, more powerful, more sovereign bunch of men and women. And that's, you know, opposite gender relating and same gender relating. I'm not talking about a particular type of relating. When there's love present, you have the keys. I, as I said, in a very realistic and very mature way, feel that there is an astral agenda to try and make us not look for those keys of potential within one another, but to keep us very much operating at a certain vibratory level. I have absolutely noticed, since the explosion of the digital age, since cell phones, since online media, since computers and all the tech that we have, that there seems to be an expansion of narcissistic, psychopath, sociopath behavior of a different type. I'm calling it a different type of human behavior. The empathy piece is not there. There's kind of like a disturbance in the field coming in via these digital channels. And I just simply have a feeling that that is what is making that strange information enter the head via thought forms. Now you could say, oh, this is my ego, this is my shadow, this is my dark side. But what if it isn't? What if you think about a cell phone, there's no leads anywhere. You know, I could call you from France to the States on our cell phones. Now, how the heck is my voice reaching your ear?
Yeah.
And I wonder if there are subtle influences also going down that line, tampering with our own gravitas of awakening, and also tampering with our own expansion, vulnerability, clarity, sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
This is my recent fabulous new subject. And I've just been noticing this ever since I first had a mobile phone. And again, talking about this narcissistic behavior, talking about the psychopaths, not that there's anything wrong with these humans, with this strain within them, but if you haven't met one, and when you do meet one for the first time, it's like, whoa, what? I do not understand this type of behavior. And just naming the elephant in the room, yes, this type of behavior exists. Why does it exist? Why is this expanding? You know, is this because we're spending so much time on the computer? Are we dumbing down some sort of empathy gene? All I know is it's on the increase. And for us to be extremely sleuth-like, you know, like the best detective ever, checking in with thoughts. I mean, every day I catch myself having these ridiculous conversations on the inside, you know, really unloving dialogue. And I'm like, well, I caught it again. And then I say things like, I am sovereign. I am free. I am one with my true creator. Now, be gone, you guys. Get out of here. I do really believe that this is the next piece of our evolution. Us guys, you know, our online community. We've done our sexual work. We're doing our voice work. Now we will have to fine tooth comb all those voices on the inside and make sure they're our own.
Yes, that is, yes. Thank you so much for bringing this to the world and to the table, because it's so true. And it's so funny because I was just in Hawaii. I was having the same thoughts. I was like, why, how am I like turning this phone on and like calling? It's crazy. It's just crazy, right? And yeah, I mean, that makes so much sense. It does open this gateway, this portal for, we don't even know, you know.
No.
So and I think, yeah, with all the social media, that everything is an I, right? It's an iPhone, it's an iBook, it's an I this, and it's all about I, you know. And I think that's where we're just really getting into that narcissistic mode and those narcissistic thoughts and tendencies. I mean, it's hard to even have a beautiful moment with someone or with yourself sometimes without thinking, oh, I should post that. You know, or I should write about that, or I should, you know, it's like, how do we come back to just an offering or a gift or a gratitude without wanting something in return, you know?
Yes, beautifully noticed, Willow. Exactly that. Because if we stop physically connecting as humans, if we stop gathering in the forest or gathering by the sea or gathering around one another's dining table, you know, actually really engaging in the body, then we are going to become a very strange species.
Yes.
We must keep gathering in the body, in nature, and just doing our thing, and no posting. No, leave it alone.
Yeah, just let it be organic.
Yeah.
You know, maybe half the time, maybe a quarter of the time, wherever you're at, you know, in this dance with technology, because some people are very, very deeply entrenched. So, maybe you could take an eighth of your time and your thought space to just really practice being in an organic state. It's going to take some practice, because if you're practicing all the time, like, oh, how is this going to look if I post it? Or how is this going to be if I, share it? That kind of stuff. So, start to practice the old ways of just being in nature and each other and heart connection. These vibrations that are natural within us.
Yes.
Wow, that is some deep, powerful stuff. Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that too. That the fact that there it does open this channel and this portal for things that we don't know to come in.
Especially when we're scrolling. Oh my gosh, that to me it's just so obvious. Things will jump out, catch my attention, and there's an emotional response to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very sophisticated way it works.
It is, it definitely.
And also our little, our likes.
Yeah.
The power of the like can make us feel good about ourselves or absolutely distraught. Yeah.
It's a wild world we're living in, and I think we have to really I would say work a little harder to come back to center than we used to have to. I mean, a lot more available. As I said at the beginning of our call, there's so much distraction going on these days.
Yeah.
And so coming back to your truth and your center and voicing that, I love that you brought also to our awareness that the throat and the yoni, the vajayjay are, they are one and the same, like they're mirror images of each other. Actually, if you hold the body in half at the belly button, they mirror each other, and the opening of the mouth and the opening of the yoni, and these are sacred portals in our body temples. And to really take care of that right speech, to speak only what is going to, serve both of you.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So beautiful. Anaya, is there any final words of wisdom you want to give to our listeners today?
No, I don't think so. I'm glad we spoke about that that astral interference, that influence, that invisible influence that is with us always and has always been. So this is not just of our time, it's amped itself up during our time, but even the Gnostics speak about this influence that is always around. It's like a psychic soup. It's just kind of everywhere. And it is very good at mimicking our own voice and sort of putting together thoughts in our own head. So I'm really glad that we tapped in on that. I don't want us to become paranoid about that. I think this is part of the know thyself awakening that we're on, that this is just another thing to become aware of and start claiming that beautiful sovereignty over the entire temple. So heart, throat, womb, yoni, appearance, energy, mind.
Yes.
We are just taking back our absolute power and remembrance of our sovereign and authentic right to be here.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Reclaiming our right to be here in a body, our worthiness, of all the love and all the gifts that the universe wants to give us, coming back, reclaiming that worthiness.
Yes.
I don't know about for you, Anaya, but for me, most of the people I work with, bottom line, the root of it all is that they don't feel like they're worthy.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
And so it's a journey, to come back to that worthiness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It takes time to really get a good current of self-love running through that beautiful being of yours day by day.
Yeah.
I mean, it may look as if, I've always had a good amount of self-love. Not true. Not true. Struggling, especially when those thought forms are operative.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when the real nuts and bolts work starts happening. That's when I get my overalls on. And I got to go down into the basement with that self-love, because there's mutiny on the factory floor. That's when it really counts, beloved friends. And we're all in the same boat. We all have this unworthiness piece.
Yeah.
But I always try to see it as a joyful. I try to bring as much joy to all, hence, the overalls and the factory floor and, mutiny and all of that. Yeah, and just when we can catch ourselves, oops, there I go again.
Yes, absolutely.
Play a bit of music that rustles up some love in the chest.
Yeah.
And off you go. You go deliver your love bomb. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I love it. Yeah, the playfulness is important on the path, on the journey. Yeah. Especially when you're dancing with another, to keep the humor alive.
Yes. Yes. I'm in this stage now, approaching the final stage of womanhood, aging, absolutely very committed to go through this process. Totally natural. The enhancements I have are coming in from the inside, more love, more joy, more peace. And so, there's a lot of things encircling me, wanting to come in or wanting to tell me all of these things about aging and other ladies and it's all, and I'm like, no, beloveds, I'm listening, but I'm not paying attention. I'm not paying attention. And so very much in a new phase of life, and wanting to go through as gracefully and as elegantly as I can. I've had my heyday, I've had my physical heyday, and so it's like waving off my daughter. She's about to go to university and just say bye. I've had my heyday, and now it's time to settle into something else. Different phase of life.
Well, I'm inspired, and I'm so happy that you're so committed to doing it naturally and gracefully. Yeah. I mean, because there's so much, take this hormone or take this and do that, but there's plant medicine, there's self-love, there's there's so much resource that is coming from nature, and we are nature. Like, we're not just part of it, we are it. So harmonize in that way.
Yes.
So sweet. Yeah. It's a sweet time in life. I look forward to it myself, actually.
Oh, it's very full on. This is not a subtle shift at all. This is a biggie, but you have access to a more wild power. Where I was more timid as a younger lady, oh my God, that is just evaporating.
Really?
It's kind of like badass primordial power is just like rising up on the inside. Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
So great. Well, I look forward to continuing to just watch that unfold within you and come through your work and your offerings. And I know that you have a free gift for our listeners, and that is the Sacred Gateways. Do you want to tell them a little bit about
yes, absolutely. So the Sacred Gateways. When I was a yoga teacher, my primary focus when I was inside was at the third eye. And I realized that when the sexual healing path was beckoning me, I knew I'd have to shift from here down into the yoni, down into the womb, and start doing my inner work down there. So I remember literally just dropping my awareness from my third eye to my womb, and I thought, wow, that was easy. I don't know what all the fuss is all about. But then came some wisdom that said, no, sweetie, that's not the path. The path is to come out of the third eye. Imagine that you're a little spaceship, a sphere of consciousness. Now, go and hang out between your legs, just before the entrance of the yoni. And I was like, oh, why would I want to do that? You've got to remember, this is the early days. So I'm hanging out as a ball of awareness right at the top of the legs. And now I'm going through the labia, I'm going through the lips, and I'm like seeing everything as I remember it to be. And now the journey is really taking on a life of its own, and everything is starting to crawl out of the cupboard. All the skeletons are starting to be seen. And I passed by the clitoris, through the G-spot, cervix, traveling the fallopian tubes and ovaries. And now the real journey is unfolding. And every single emotion that I had connected to the 101 reasons why not to be here, why not to clean here, why not to look here, why not to let the partner look too closely here. Wow. Now the journey was really authentic. And then I realized this is how to take the path, not drop cleanly through the heart and solar plexus and just ever so neatly land in the womb. Oh, no, no, no. You got to go in via the yoni. And all that energy down in the first, second, and third chakras. And so the free gift is that spoken journey.
Oh, cool.
And all the seeming thought forms and emotions and sensations that might be buried down there. And all the beautiful blessings, the blessing of trust, the blessing of innocence, the blessing of fire. So blessing that area so that by the time we've finished this meditation that we've done again and again and again, it really is a temple. And so whoever should enter that temple is going to get blessed with this radiance rather than all the other stuff that's usually down there. Like, oh, I don't like the appearance of this. I don't like that. I have a memory of that happening. So by the time our partners do come into our temple, it's beautiful, clean, it's fresh, it's throbbing with vitality.
Yes. I can't wait to listen to that. That's going to be really powerful and so good for so many of our listeners. There's so much that gets stored in the cells of our yonis and the labia and the G-spot all the way through the canal. And that's going to be a great, beautiful, powerful gift for our listeners. So thank you for offering it. That's so wonderful. And is there anything coming up for you in November or December that you know of that you
the only thing that could be happening is possibly a West Coast tour. So starting off in Ashland and making my way maybe all the way down to Santa Cruz.
Ah, that would be great.
That's usually what I tend to do during that time. I haven't done it for a couple of years because I've been mostly here in France, renovating the house. But I
Uh-huh.
think it's ready. I
Yeah.
think I'm ready to see my West Coast friends again and
Great.
start cooking up a little something or other.
Oh, good. That would be such a treat to have you over here. Come, come.
Yeah, I do enjoy coming.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Such a pleasure. I mean, for me, an honor and a pleasure and a total joy to just sit with you. So thank you, Anaya, so much.
Thank you, Willow. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And I hope you got something from that.
Oh, yeah. So much. So much, I'm sure. Okay, namaste, everybody. We'll see you on the next show.